Hi everybody, my name is Bill Wilkerson and this is an introduction to Political Science 245. I'm using a new tool here, so this will not be a very flashy video, but I did want to walk you through a few documents and the tools that we'll be using this summer for this class very briefly. So as I said, this is Political Science 245 and this is the draft of the syllabus that I put in an email the other day. I'll be finishing it up over the next few days and I'll send you out a final version sometime in the next week or so. Um, the syllabus is fairly detailed, including books you need to read, an outline of assignments, some various rules, and a description of the grading system, which is new and a little complicated, as well as the system, a description of the various assignments that we're going to have, which with a couple still to be added. One thing I wanted to point out here is the course outline because the course outline has deadlines. I may shift these 1 or 2 days, but basically these are the deadlines it will have. And they also describe the outline of the class that we'll have for the semester. Essentially, the class is made up of 5 lessons and a summative concluding assignment. Each of these lessons has similar elements. There are things to read, watch, and listen. There is a quiz, largely over the textbook material. There's a writing assignment, and there's online discussion. These are critical elements for the class throughout the semester. The other thing that I want to point out, which I pointed out in the email as well, is while this is not an exact replica of the class that I would do over 15 weeks, there's actually a little less reading than we would have. The class is quite similar, and a 4 to 5 week class is a very intense experience. So be prepared to do a fair amount of work in a fairly short period of time. You should carve out time to get this work done on a regular basis. As I said, the grading system that we're going to use this semester is a little different than a system that you're used to. It's a strategy called specifications grading. And essentially, you can pick the grade that you want to target. And you'll be able to target those grades based on performance on quizzes and how much other work that you do. To get the grade that you hope for, you won't just have to do the work, you'll have to meet the standards that I've set for this level of work as well. So you need to take all the quizzes regardless. And you have to pass them at the levels that are noted here to have a chance to earn the grade that you wish. Discussion is particularly important in this class, so even at the lowest level, sufficient performance in the discussions is important. And at anything at the C level or above, I expect that you'll have sufficient level of discussion each of the lessons that we cover this semester. And writing is important too. It's a way that you're going to process information in addition to the discussion and the quizzes. And so to earn a B or above, you'll have to successfully write a weekly assignment. The class is not set up to punish you though, so there are opportunities to recover if, for example, a discussion doesn't go well or a quiz doesn't go well, or it takes you a little while to figure out what the writing assignments are like. So I've created a system called tokens that you can turn in to redo this work. Or in the case of discussion, if you've made a good faith effort but you're not quite there, you can count one of your discussions as complete. There are also summative assignments at the end of the semester if you hope to earn a B or an A, and when I complete those, we can have a discussion about those. So that's basically what the syllabus looks like. You will need to buy 2 books, the first of which is a textbook, American Judicial Process. It's available at all the standard places. The bookstore has copies, and they'd love to ship it to you. It's available on Amazon. There is an electronic version at the publisher's website, and this is the publisher's website. I've given you all the details of the textbook on the syllabus, so that should be fairly easy to find. In addition, you'll need to buy a second book, The Buffalo Creek Disaster by Gerald Stern. This book has been out for a very long time. It recounts a lawyer's work on a very serious coal mining disaster in the late 1970s. It's still a great book. People still use it in political science classes and in law school. It's a very interesting story. We'll be discussing it heavily in week 3 of the class, and I just want to point this out to you. You will be covering this entire book. I don't think you'll find it a particularly difficult read. I think you'll find it interesting, but it is an entire book. So this is also something you'll want to get early and get started with early. So those are the 2 books that you'll need to purchase. We'll be using 2 technology tools or websites, applications during the semester. The first of which you're probably familiar with. The second, I'm confident that you are not familiar with. The first of them is Blackboard. And Blackboard will be particularly important in the online quizzes and in turning on your papers. I always make an effort to simplify what you see in Blackboard so that you don't see a bunch of stuff that you don't need. And so you go directly to this Lessons tab when you log into Blackboard and go to this class. And again, there are 5 lessons plus the summative assignment, and there are 6 folders, 1 for each lesson, and the summative assignment. So we'll begin by looking at this first lesson, and they'll all eventually look the same. So each lesson will have the quiz at the top. It gives you the explanation of that quiz. There's a drop box for where you can put your paper. Again, the question for the paper is here. And all of the other readings and other materials that I'd like you to look at this week, in addition to the textbook, are included in the lesson tab. One of the reasons that, and so when we work our way down, you'll notice that the quiz is not there. It's completed, but I haven't opened it up yet. And all of them, the lessons pretty much look the same. One of the reasons that I've decided to continue to use Blackboard is I like to use the gradebook. I like to make sure you have the opportunity to see your grades, and that's much easier to do if I have you turn in assignments in Blackboard itself. So once we start getting assignments, you'll notice that this will begin to populate with your grades, and you'll be able to get a sense of what those, how you're doing thus far this semester. And if you wish, you can use this checklist that I sent you yesterday to keep track of how you're doing and what kind of progress that you're making in the class. So let's look for a minute at the second tool that we're going to be using, Slack. Slack is a business communication tool. I am new to this program, but I know people that use it regularly and find it quite helpful. It's like many social media tools or media tools, quite simple, and also has some underlying complexity as well. And we'll be spending a lot of time in Slack. In fact, most of the class will take place here rather than on Blackboard. If you notice on the left-hand side over here, you see channels. In addition, you see individual people, and this allows you to send direct messages. One thing that you can do is go to your profile and add a photo, tell us a little bit about who you are. You can set your status here as well, so you don't have to be on and in all the time. You notice I've gone with the black and white photo, the Johnny Cash photo. Maybe I'll switch my photo sometime during the semester, we'll see. But most of what we'll be doing this semester is in channels. So if you notice, I've created a channel for each of the 5 lessons. And then in these channels, I've populated them already with the readings. These are pinned to the top. And they also have items. The items that are pinned are available on the left-hand channel. You might notice that I'm using a Mac. The interface looks a little different on Windows and obviously different on your phone, but almost all of the same features are on the phone as well. In fact, many people use Slack primarily on their phone or their tablet. And so in each of the weeks, I've already pinned the same resources that are in Blackboard. So you don't really have to go out to Blackboard to get the files unless that's what you wish to do. In addition, there is an introduction channel. I'd like each of you to provide some introduction and hopefully some feedback about who you are. And I noticed that a few of you have already signed in. That's great. And there's also a channel for grading. I know the grading system's a little complicated. I assume that they'll, or at least different if not complicated. I think it'll actually be simpler once we learn it. But I've created a channel for you to ask questions about grading, and we can turn that into a channel about the assignments as we work our way through the semester. And then there's also this random channel, which is something that Slack sets up automatically. And it might be useful for other stuff. As it says here, a place for non-work related flim-flam, faffing, hodgepodge, or jibber-jabber, whatever that is. So we can decide what that is as we go on. Slack, one of the things that it does best is allow for discussion. So I'll be posting the discussion questions each week in the channels related to the lesson. I'll create a hashtag for each of those, and I know you all know what hashtags are, and we'll want to use that hashtag because that makes it easier. Also, like in other social media tools, you can reply to the group and tag an individual person. You can also send direct messages to people. So you notice here this morning I noted that Dong Lei had signed into the class, and I sent her a welcome note, as I did to Kristen and Mark and Amanda. And I'll do the same when the rest of you sign in. I did notice that I'm the only one who's posted a photo yet, and that's fine, but hopefully over the next couple of weeks before we start class, we can do that. So this is just a brief background of Slack. The one thing I also wanted to note is that the documents are posted in each of the lesson tabs, but if you want, you can pin documents to your particular area. So they're documents that you want to get, you want to go grab them. You can go out here, you can go to all files, they're all listed here. You can pin the document to this conversation, which is your private area, and you can pin files. So that way they're in my space, so I don't have to worry about going out to get them in other places. There's in some ways a lot more to Slack, but that's basically it. As I said, the discussion is an integral part of this class, and I assume that you'll be spending a lot of time, in the Slack app. So I think I've talked longer than I expected to already, so I think I'll finish up here. This has just been a brief introduction to our course, Political Science 245. And my goal here was to show you some of the documents and tools that we'll be working on this semester. I assume you'll have questions, and hopefully you'll start to use Slack to ask me those questions. I look forward to having that discussion and get started with the course. Take care. Bye.